Hello everybody, my name is Ilya, and without me is Tyler, because I recently went to Canada Plays, and Tyler unfortunately had to sit back and play with her doggos and make sure the house was all in order. But because I went by myself, I had to make the most of it, and I played as many and saw as many games as I could so I can come back and tell you about them, so you can learn about some of the games with me, and we can share in the joy of board games together. Now, what is Canada Plays? Essentially, this is an event where retailers in Canada come together with various publishers and primarily Asmodee Canada and their studios. Now, the retailers learn about all the upcoming games, and there's a lot of various events where folks can really bond, and we as a Canadian community can come together to share in our joy of board games. Now, I was there to check out the various games, see what's hot, see what's coming up, and share all of that with you, of course. Now, first, I will say a huge shout out to Jenna from Board Game Garden and Jamie from Foster the Meeple, who played a majority of these games, actually if not all of them, with me. We spent the week together and we played over 29 plays. Now, that's pretty impressive for 2 and a bit days of gaming, and I'm really thrilled to tell you all about it. So with that said, I'll tell you about all the games that we played, and then some of the games that I saw that will be coming out in the future that you may want to keep your eye on. Here we go. First up, we have Come Sail Away. This is a game designed by Daryl Chow and Sashi, and it's one that I've been wanting to play for a very long time. Now, it's a bigger box, but don't let that deceive you. It's a quick 20-ish minute game where you're drafting people to put on your cruise ship. And how you place those folks is really interesting because it's kind of that Mancala effect where you draft a card and you place those people either from left to right on the card onto your board in the designated spaces, and you're trying to score the most points that you possibly can by filling up the various rooms of your cruise ship. It was a really fun game, so fun so that I actually ordered a copy that I'm waiting for it to come so I can show Tyler. The next game we played was Perudo, which is a version of Liar's Dice, but this one has 2 cans. Now, I've never played Liar's Dice before, and boy oh boy, it was a blast. You essentially are just guessing how many dice you have with everybody at the table without really knowing what other dice exists. There's a little bit of bluffing, there's a little bit of a social element, but it was a ton of fun to share in those games. Then we kept with the whole party-esque mode by playing Fakin It from the Jackbox, the game. Now, Fakin It had prompts that you would pass in your little card, and everyone would see the prompts except for you, the faker. Now, some of them were we'd all point at one person, some of them we'd like raise our hands or raise our hands down, some of them was show a certain number of fingers for quantities, or answer everything out loud. So hearing what everybody was saying, we're trying to deduce who the faker is of the group, and for a social game with everybody else, if you like Jackbox, this is a game that you may enjoy. Next, we played Ink. Now, this is a new game by Casper Lap from a new studio, I believe, as well. And it was essentially a tile placement game where you're trying to get rid of all of your ink bottles. It gave me elements of Nova Luna and some of those Uwe games, which was really fun, and I'm really intrigued to get back to it because it was really gorgeous, and the little bottles were just a little nice production touch that wanted me to come back to this game. Then, I had the pleasure of teaching BombBusters to Jamie, Jenna, and our friends Tabletop Savants, who we met at Canada Plays. They have an Instagram account, definitely check them out. I'll link them in the description below. Now, BombBusters is probably one of my favorite cooperative games, and none of them have played this game, so it's just such an absolute joy to teach it to them, to cut some wires. We succeeded a mission, we failed a mission, but in all, we had a lot of fun. So that was the first night that we were there. The next day was our heavy day of gaming. We tried to get as many games as we possibly could. Now, we started out with Tower Up. So this is from Monolith Games, where essentially you're taking blocks, you're drafting blocks, and placing them around the city to build up your city. Now, the way I thought this was going to be an area majority game, but it really wasn't. There was a lot of elements of clever thinking of how buildings interact with each other, and I immediately wanted to play this game again, and I immediately want to own it as well. It definitely was one of the highlights for the weekend for me. The other game we got to try was Pergola. I don't believe it's released yet, but I think it's coming out really, really soon. Now, this game is from Rebel Studio, and it's absolutely gorgeous. The only thing is there's a lot of components, and it's a pretty simple game because you'll be drafting a shovel, which will have an action corresponding to it and some of the things you get for it. But you'll be building this beautiful panorama and trying to score the most points through various ways of set collection. By the end, everything was so gorgeous, and the tactile feel of each of the components is just mwah. We then played what I think is probably one of my favorite games of Canada Plays, and that is 3 chapters from Amigo Games. Now, this is a game, I will tell you, go get it, you will not regret it. It's based on fairy tale creatures, and there's 3 chapters in this gameplay. The first chapter, you're drafting cards. The second chapter, you're essentially playing trick-taking with the cards that you've drafted, but you'll never give up the cards that you've drafted. And the third chapter is you'll actually score the cards that you have. Now, each of the cards acts differently. If you play the Beauty with the Beast, for example, you'll score additional points in this way in what means. Now, in the trick taking, if you do the same, if you play a Beauty and someone plays a Beast, you'll again score those points. So planning and tactfully executing is really, really interesting. There's a lot of ways to score points. We played this game, I believe, 5 or 6 times throughout the week just because we liked it so much. And you can play it at a very, 3 to 6, I believe. So a decent player count too, which makes it a really fun convention game. The other game we played was Monkey Palace, a Lego game. This game is always a blast. It was beautiful to see the structure that we built by the end of all of it. The next one we played was Agent Avenue. So this is a 2-player game, and it was actually nominated for the Board Game Geek 2-Player Award. Now, this game is really interesting because it has a secret element of I Cut You Choose. So you'll showcase one of the cards, you won't showcase the other, and you'll collect cards, and based on the sets that you have, you'll move trying to uncover the identity of the other agent. So you'll chase the other agent around in the block. There's an advanced mode, the gameplay is pretty fast paced. I thought it was a lot of fun. And then we of course had to check out SIXEM, the Sour Patch Kids game, which is a really fun game where you essentially just roll dice as fast as you can and try to fulfill the objective, which is sometimes one vertical, one horizontal line. Now, as soon as one player stabs for the dice, you say stop and you write down the results. What makes it Sour Patch is if you have a result that you already had, you can either give that to another player or take it away, erase it on their board. So it's a little fast-paced, fun little dice game that I definitely would play again. We then took a look at Kilauea. Now, Jen and I have both covered this game, and we were dying to play it with 4 players, and boy oh boy is it a fun game. You're essentially moving your canoe and you're cutting down tikis from the forest and placing it either on the volcano or the island. The combination of the two influences your scoring. And with 4 players, it was so interesting to see the dynamic way that the board has changed and the scoring that has changed. We saw some alliances pick up of trying to boost some of the points in some of the sections of the island. And really, it was just a joy of a game. It is on crowdfunding right now, and I highly encourage you to check it out. Also, one of the designers in this game, I believe, has designed Lacrimosa, which is what initially caught my eye personally. But I would highly, highly recommend this game. Definitely take a look at it, and we'll link that down below. We then got to play Giant Harmonies. I love giant versions of games, and conventions often have them. So when we saw the Giant Harmonies, we knew that we had to be a part of it. And it was just a joy to experience. We then learned a game called Duck and Cover, which was really fun. Everyone has the same grid of cards to start, and one card will be flipped at a time. What you're trying to do is you're trying to condense your grid into one card, because once you do, you'll score negative the points on that card. Once that player does that, everyone else scores the positive points that they have left. So it's really simple, it's very fast, it's also simultaneous play, and it is another game that I tried to order, but I couldn't actually find in stock, but I'm really keen on getting sooner than later. We then played Wandering Towers, which is always fun to play at a higher player count, and we played at a full player count. Those wizards, you just never know where they're going to go. And you never know what's going to happen in a game of Wandering Towers as well, with how dynamic everything is. We played River Valley Glassworks, which is a fantastic game. I love the designers of this game, and it's just such a joy to introduce because there is that whole level of the river flowing, what are you going to collect? I did, embarrassingly enough, completely forget that your tallest 2 columns are scored. I thought all the columns scored because it was getting late to be in the evening. We were a little bit tired. So I was a little bit disappointed at my outcome, but it was still a fun game to play, and I highly encourage you to try it if you have not yet. Speaking of great games, we also played Fromage. Now, Fromage is just fantastic. It's a fun little worker placement game where you're playing 4 mini games and a board will rotate as you go. You're placing cheese, you're trying to win at different mini games, and this game was just a joy to experience and just share with others, especially at the full 4-player count because you're in each of the quadrants and it's just a lot of fun. Now, we ended the night off for that full day of gaming with a game called Sardegna. Now this is from Crafty Games, and what's really neat about this game is the box is actually the board of the game and unravels and becomes the board. Now this was an area control game, and it was really interesting to see because you're playing cards to essentially influence the movement of your area so you can score the most points as each area is activated at different times. It was a really fun game, but I think I would prefer more at 2 players with that whole head-to-head feel, because it does kind of feel like you're playing the players, and once you get up to the later game, you are kind of really facing off with 1 player if you're really at that end game. So that was day 2. Now for the last day, we were only there for the morning, but we did manage to get a few games in. The first being Rumble Nation. Now, this game was such a blast. You're essentially rolling dice. It's again an area control game of the board. Now, the way you roll the dice is how you're going to deploy your meeples. The number using 2 dice and the amount of meeple using a 3rd dice that you roll. Now, after everyone's placed their meeples, you'll resolve the majorities in each one. Now, if you win majorities, you'll send reinforcement. It kind of creates this cascading effect. There's a simplicity in this game, but there's also a beauty in that simplicity. And it's another game that I really want to add to our collection because I do think it's a really fun game to introduce to other people. We also played Jungo, which is a card game. It's really similar to Scout, but there's no runs essentially. And if you beat somebody else's cards, you can take them to your hand to add anywhere in your cards. But again, you can't rearrange your cards. You're trying to be the last one to get rid of your cards. It's only 1 round, so you can kind of play it quickly again and again. There's a ton of fun, and I'm looking forward to sharing that one with other people as well. 2 more to go. We have Juicy Fruits, which is a capstone game that Tyler and I really, really like. And it's been so much fun to show to people because essentially what you're doing is you have a little grid, and while you're moving your fruit, the way you move a little tile is how many fruit you'll collect. And as you collect more fruit, you're able to fill more objectives, create your board, and be able to do more as the game progresses. This game is a ton of fun, and it's always a joy to show this game. And there's also various modes in this game that you can play to add different complexities. And the last game we played was Ink It. Now this is a fun party game that you have 4 stamps that you're trying to play cooperatively to get your teammates to guess what you have inked. Now, what sells this game, what makes it stand apart from other games that are this type, is the rounds is how many stamps you can use. So you'll start round 5, and you can use all 5 stamps. So in the beginning, it's a little bit easy. But at the very last round, you're only able to use 1 stamp. And there's only 4 shapes and 4 colors that are set to those shapes. So it becomes really interesting of how you interpret what you're doing. It's a game I surprisingly enjoyed more than I thought I would. And I typically wouldn't play these games again. It was more kind of to try it, but I'm itching to try it one more time because there is that creativity in using less to really convey of what you're doing. So that is all the games that we have played. It was quite a bit. My top 3 favorites of the weekend were definitely 3 Chapters, Kilauea, and Rumble Nation. There's just so much fun between those 3 games. Ooh, and a close Tower Up was really, really close too. I feel like that one was just so close. Now, let's talk about some of the games that I saw. From Space Cowboys, we saw a game called Dewan that's coming out later this year. It's a little area tile placement game, which was really interesting. It looked really beautiful, and we heard that it was a really fast-paced game as well, so it turns out really quick. I really want to play it. It looked really, really gorgeous, and Space Cowboys continues to deliver some of the highest quality gaming experiences that I personally have played. Another game we saw was Take Time from Libeled. This game looked gorgeous, and I think the premise was essentially the Mind Plus. There's some cards that you flow through, and there's different kind of objectives and envelopes almost. We didn't get the full pitch, but I'm really curious to learn more about it because Libeled produces some of really intriguing and gorgeous games. And I think from the cover and from what we saw in this game, it was definitely on par with some of the past games that they've done, like Dixit or Mysterium. Now we saw some gorgeous Lord of the Rings games. First of all, there was The Hobbit, There and Back Again from Office Dog. Now, this is a roll and write from Rainer Knizia that has various scenarios, and it just looks so good. We'll be doing a how to play video for this game later in the summer, and I cannot wait to share this game with you all. The other game we saw too was The Fate of the Fellowship, which is a game by Matt Leacock. Rodney was around and I saw him play it a few times with folks, and it just looks so interesting. And I did hear that it's not entirely the same as Pandemic, and if you played it for the first time, you actually might have not even made the comparison, which makes me really excited because Matt Leacock does some great cooperative design, and I'm really curious how this one will shine at the table. I'm sad that we didn't get a chance to play it, but I'm sure we'll be playing it sooner than later. Another game, of course, is The Fix for 626, a Stitch game, which is just a Stitch love letter. And if you love letter, if you love Stitch, if you want a little Stitch head as the game holder, you'll just love this one. Then we have Brick Like This, which is a next Lego game, which is more of a party game where you have a various shape and you're really trying to communicate to your team to build that shape, which is just always fun, and I feel like Lego is such a good fit for that type of game. So I'm excited to see that game come to our table and come to life and come in various those party group situations. We also saw some all-play games, including Vivo and Soda Jerk, one of their small box games, as well as a game called Terrible Quest, where you're actually tearing pieces of paper, which looked really, really interesting. So I'm excited to check out that entire line of games, because I've really enjoyed a lot of their small game line in the past line, so I'm curious to see how this line compares to that. We also, of course, have the 2-player tag team, which is going to be a Gen Con release from Scorpion Masqué, who also produces really, really high-quality games, and this one looks like a really nice dual twist. I'm excited to see how it plays, what Tyler and I will think of it, and overall it's just one that is definitely pretty high on my radar. As well with that game, we saw Gatsby, which is another 2-player game that looks phenomenal, and one from Studio H called Leaders. I don't know too much about it, but the box looked gorgeous, and the whole premise was described to me. I don't remember it because I was a little bit sleepy. But I was sold. I was like, yes, this is one I definitely want to take a look at. Well, of course, we love 2-player games too. And the last couple games I'll share with you is Cocoons, which is a game coming from ELO, and it's really interesting because you have a box, you're playing in the box of the game, and you're manipulating squares to try to find where specific things will go. It felt like a very innovative, different type of game that I haven't experienced before. And of course, Octocube from Sit Down Games, where you have an octopus, and it's going to pick up some tiles, and you're going to score those tiles in set collection. I think it's fairly light, but it just looks so silly, and it looks so wonderful, and I can't wait to play it. And that was kind of the gist of some of the games that we saw that we're excited about. We also did see some embargoed games that we can't talk about yet, but there is definitely a couple in there that I'm very excited about in particular. And I can't wait to share some secrets with you once we're able to. Now that has been my adventure to Canada Plays. Thank you so much for Asmodee for the invite. And thank you to all the people that have enjoyed some of the games with us. It was a joy sharing the gaming experience and learning about all the games that are to come. Now for the question of the day, is there a game you're excited to play or share with others? What would that game be? Now, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that thumb up, make sure you do all the things that YouTube likes for you to do, and definitely feel free to check out our Discord or Patreon where we share some additional content if you want to get to know Tyler or myself a little bit better, or if you just want to support us additionally. Thank you so much and have a wonderful rest of your day.